Welcome to another episode of Health Matters with PA Lynn Szabo. I'm Heather. What are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about what it's like to live in a community without fluoridation in the water and what people should do to get good dental health.
Oh.
So you guys might remember that a minority of people voted fluoride out of our drinking water about 10 years ago. I think it was about 10 years already. And so dental decay is now something that providers see, it's hard to believe, much more frequently, especially in kids. It's really kind of bad. And it's problematic because, this is an underserved area for dental care. So I thought I'd maybe talk a little bit to how you keep your teeth in good shape if you're living somewhere where there's no fluoride in the water.
Okay.
And specifically directing to parents because they really need to have a plan to protect their dental health. So this is kind of like if somebody decides not to vaccinate their children, in my opinion, they need to have a plan about what they're going to do if the measles come to town. Or
So isn't the plan if you get a cavity, your child gets a cavity, is to go to the dentist?
No, you need to step back and start protecting even before then.
Okay.
Because there really isn't a dentist, and a kid's squirrely, and they don't sit still, and filling a cavity is hard, and oftentimes they wait until they've got a bunch of them so they can justify the twilight anesthesia, and that happens in Eureka or Redding or Santa Rosa. So. Wow. It's just an ounce of prevention. That's what I'm going for. So I think since we live in an area without great access to dental care, the burden of protecting dental health in Crescent City is on us. So adults and children often endure, like I said, painful conditions and treatments and long travel to get to corrective care. And I do pre-op physicals on kids for dental, anesthesia constantly.
Oh, wow.
Constantly. And it's, and I am like, why couldn't this have been stopped earlier? Because good dental health is important to overall good health.
That's true.
I mean, we have to really understand that it's not just cosmetic and it's not... there are plenty of people in this community whose opioid addiction started with pain in their teeth.
Oh, God.
Plenty.
But so I remember taking my dad to see the cardiologist and things like that and reading the stuff in there. There were studies that were saying like good oral hygiene is important for heart health. So if you don't start when you're young, you end up with greater plaques in the arteries and that type of a thing.
Right.
So is that accurate or?
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally accurate. And also endocarditis, actually, which means somebody gets their teeth cleaned and it releases bacteria into the bloodstream, which happens. And usually the body can take care of that. But sometimes it gets away from the body and then it, grows on heart valves or somebody becomes septic. So it just seems to me that it's better to kind of keep your teeth healthy so that you're not at all risk for that.
Is that why some people, when they go to the dentist, they have to take antibiotics to get their teeth cleaned or do any of that work? Okay.
I actually saw my former partner who got his teeth cleaned, and he had kind of a deep gum cleaning, and he had then he got a high fever and shaking chills. And so he had a response to that and ended up having to go on antibiotics to it. It was not fun.
Now, I remember a coworker of mine getting really sick, and I took her to the hospital. I left work and took her to the hospital. And she ended up, she'd had her dental work before she came into work. And it was I'm going to say it all wrong, a pericardial sac infection.
Right.
The fluid around her heart became thick. Because it had gotten infected.
Right.
Is that
right?
So that's those types of things.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No, it was horrible. We thought she was going to die.
So what's the concern Del order to do? Plus, it would be nice not to be everybody's bad teeth joke. I hear that all the time. But what's the concern Del order to do? So see a dentist twice yearly, and people are like, And I say, when was the last time you were at the dentist? I don't know, 7 years ago, or never been.
There's most people I know don't go to the dentist twice a year. Simply we don't have a dentist to see twice a year. I've tried to schedule an appointment for someone, and it's in June of 26.
Right, but that doesn't mean it's not a good recommendation. That means it takes some planning, some thought, some realization of how important it is. Since we don't have enough dentists, routine appointments should be made early, and people should show up. The problem is, if like my next dental appointment is in early February, I think, and it would be really easy to be living in a different lane of life by then and forget that I have the appointment. So a lot of those appointments that are made for a long time out are no-shows because people get preoccupied and they go in different directions with their lives.
That makes sense.
So make the routine appointments early, but make a note to show up. You can set something in your phone. You can write your notes on your calendar, whatever it is that works for you. But think about it and follow through. Brush with fluoride toothpaste twice daily. Now, this was interesting. It's not hard to do. There's fluoridated toothpaste. Although I expect some people probably have problems affording it, but I've also seen direct relief toothpaste around and things like that.
What's direct relief toothpaste?
Direct relief is the program that Open Door has where they are given a lot of like hygiene type products, and they're just to distribute for free in the community. So
okay.
I bet if you went down to Dr. Andrews or Dr. Andrew Turner's homeless clinic, somebody would come up with some fluoridated toothpaste for you. And I do know that a toothbrush is expensive, and this is complicated, and it really you shouldn't be using manual toothbrushes anymore. They don't really do a good enough job. So people should be using electric toothbrushes.
Does it have to be the super expensive $250 toothbrush, or is an $81 okay, or is that $5?
I think an $81 one is okay, but they're locked up in Walmart probably for a reason. I don't think it needs to cost $250, but
okay, just a basic.
Expect $100 plus or minus.
Okay.
And I just don't see people who are,
Does that include children? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It totally does. So if you have 5 people in your family, that's 5 toothbrushes.
Yeah, that's $500 just to brush your teeth twice a day. Right.
So maybe you can get the kind where everybody has their own actual bristles, and you put it on a foundational.
Okay, somebody who has a lot of siblings, no.
Yeah.
I would not trust my brothers to change the toothbrush head. There's no way, Lynn. No, gross. Everybody gets their own.
I think you could manage it, though.
Colored with your name on it. No, gross.
No, you just take it with you and you keep it by your bedside. But that makes brushing your teeth more of a hassle. And then you're like, yeah, I'll do it in a minute. And then it never happens.
Yeah.
And then flossing daily, and this one's kind of a conundrum because the dentists are so attached to this, and the dental hygienists are so attached because there's been some pretty good studies that say flossing doesn't help. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. Mind blown, huh?
Yeah.
Because of the amount.
We're told to floss all the time.
I know. So be like my friend Mary, and she sits around with her family and they're talking in front of the fire at the end of the day, and she brings out the dental floss and she gives everybody a piece of it. And even me, as a guest in the house, flossed my teeth with her children when they were living, and also her husband when they were living with her, and also her husband who's sitting right there. So
that's true friendship when you all get the floss together
Mary's
by the fire.
Style. So maybe like moms need one more thing to think about, but maybe that's something they could. Now that's for adults, okay? Infants, if infants don't have teeth, then wipe their gums twice daily after first feeding. So the first probably nursing or formula feed after they get up in the morning, and then before bedtime. Try not to let them have bottles at night that have formula in them, but try and keep it to just water if they really need that comfort measure. I don't know what you do if you're a nursing mom and you're getting up every 2 hours. They didn't really address that, but breast milk has a lot of sugar in it, and so you're leaving sugar in the mouth there. Maybe just wipe their gums. But if I was, I have fallen asleep nursing before, and I was just lucky I didn't drop the baby on the floor. So I can see that one going by the wayside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that just to get into the habit of doing it? If they don't have any teeth, there's nothing to for the sugar.
Just wipe the gums.
Okay.
So after teeth appear, which is usually about maybe 3 to 5 months of age, brush twice daily with a soft brush and plain water. Now, anybody that's tried to brush a wiggly kid's teeth know that if they're not into it, they're not going to make it easy on you. And it's not like you can sit on them because somebody will be calling CPS on you really quick. So do the best you can. This is probably a time that a mechanical brush is better. Although I think kids might like the novelty of an electric toothbrush, especially some of the ones for pediatrics are have cartoons associated with them or play little songs.
Yeah.
For the duration that you're supposed to brush. I think you could just look and see what your choices are. Might be a good birthday present if a grandma or an auntie is thinking of what do I get this child for their birthday, because it's got a toy quality to it.
It does. Don't those usually go on sale around Christmas time too? I mean, a lot of people I know do them for stocking stuffers.
Yep.
You get replacement heads every year. You get the base one year. And
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Get their first dental appointment by the first birthday, even if the infant doesn't have teeth, it says, because mostly that's a PR visit, okay? So that's the dental way of public relations. Oh, you opened your mouth. You get these stickers. Oh, my God. Everybody claps. What an amazing thing. We take your picture. You're up on no
take away the fear of the dentist.
Right.
This is where I go to get stickers and toys if I want to look at my teeth.
These guys are nice. So it's important to have good interactions with dentists from the gate, because there's a lot of adults who neglect their dental health mostly because somebody sat on them and yanked their mouth open and tried and pulled their teeth out and it hurt, or gave them shots in their gums and it hurt.
Yeah.
It really traumatizes
So you get held down as a kid and they put those stays in to keep your mouth open and then hold your head still. It's not fun.
They don't do that everywhere, though. See, my kids, and I understand that my kids were privileged because they had access to pediatric dentists in Arcata. So Dr. Tucker, the two Dr. Tuckers, who did amazing jobs with my kids, and they actually pulled out one of my younger kid's teeth, and she didn't even know it happened.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't like it was loose or anything. It was just kind of in the way of her braces. So,
okay.
And they take care of kids in a big arena. So there's these tiny little chairs that are so cute. and there's like 5 kids kind of spread out like a fan, and the dentist just goes from kid to kid. And so I saw kids next to her who were getting what could be a complicated, painful experience for a child. And there was no yelling, there was no crying, there was no struggling, there was no panicking. There was, it's like they have their skills down.
Is that because of the dentist, or is that because of parents taking the time to expose their kid twice a year to the dentist?
I think all of the
peace?
above. I think all of the above. And at
That's
the time,
a team effort.
Yeah. But they are really, really good at hiding things like needles and stuff. And there's TVs on the ceiling, and kids wear special glasses. They're cool sunglassy looking things, and the whole thing is like a amazing thing a minute on the kid level.
Nice.
And I do believe that they accept Medi-Cal. So the last I asked, they accepted partnership.
And where is this at?
This is in Arcata, and I don't know if this is...
Do you know if they're accepting new patients?
Last I heard they were, but when my kids were getting care there, I got my youngest child on the waiting list when she was a fetus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So again, thinking ahead's important.
Okay.
So during well-child checks, people are going to be offered fluoride treatment, and parents should go for this. The fluoride stuff tastes a little bit like frosting, I'm told, and the kids usually like it.
Doesn't that stain your teeth?
Fluoride, too much fluoride can cause staining in your teeth.
Okay. And
Not enough fluoride can cause them to rot and fall out. Risk benefit. See what it is you really want. So,
is there a way of fixing the staining once it's done with the fluoride staining?
Yeah, I don't know that because I'm not a dentist.
You're not a dentist.
But I think in children's teeth, not permanent teeth, that they'll just cycle through.
Okay.
So, but if there's no fluoride in the water,
we have to
like there is in Del Norte, no
make a plan.
Fluoride in the water. I think it's unlikely that they're going to be over fluoridated. So children should brush daily with fluoridated toothpaste, and a parent should help them brush. And I remember we used to have one of those little egg timers that looked like oh God, help me with the word. Like sand was flying.
Oh, yeah.
An hourglass. Yeah. Tiny little one, and
Yeah.
it was approximately 2 minutes, and that was the time that the kids had to focus on it. And like we said, electric brushes are better choices, and there's cute ones out there. The amount of fluoridated toothpaste that should be used on a regular basis is a pea-sized amount.
Is that for children, adults, or?
That's for children.
Okay.
Okay. And I don't know, pea-size sounds to me still like that's not super specific, but
Well, peas aren't very big.
yeah, go for small pea, I guess. And make sure the kids are spitting out the the fluid in their mouth and they're not swallowing it. And then if you're offered at the dentist, if you're offered the opportunity to get dental sealants, you should seriously consider it. Dental sealants, I think, can be really helpful in kids who live in communities where there's no fluoridated water.
Is that something our dentists here in town are aware of and offer to do the fluoride treatments and the sealants and things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they encourage it. But, since there's always kind of a push-pull between dentists and medical people, where medical people really want dentists to do dental things, and then the dentists really want medical people to help them out because they're struggling. And so that's how we got the sealants in the medical office for well-child checks, or not the sealants, but the fluoride treatments.
So providers can do fluoride treatments.
Providers can direct medical assistants to do fluoride treatments, and now we have the capacity to do that in the office. And I think it's something that I've never really thought of for well-child checks, but I have been addressing since I've been at UHS about the last 4 years or so, addressing dental health because nobody else is stepping forward. Nobody else is taking responsibility for keeping the community's teeth healthy in a situation with not enough dentists. And I think it's...
And no fluoride in our water.
Yeah, no fluoride in the water. So I think the primary care provider needs to step forward and at least ask about it, at least remind that these kids need this and this and this. Advise, for example, that electric toothbrushes are so vastly superior, especially for children, compared with manual toothbrushes. That kind of stuff. I don't think parents necessarily have that information. This is the same thing if you have a not very scientific mind and you let loose of an important tool to help your children, then you have to have a plan B. You have to have a plan B, because right now I see a lot of angry adults with painful dental conditions who didn't take responsibility for their dental care. Or as children whose parents didn't take responsibility for it. And the decision was made by a minority of people in town under the influence of out-of-the-area forces that deprived us all of a cheap, safe way to keep our teeth healthy.
Well, what's going to happen? So we talked a little bit about a proper oral hygiene affecting our cardiovascular health later in life. Or are we looking at an epidemic of like heart disease?
Yeah, I think so. We're also looking at an epidemic of chronic pain, and in some cases, some people have become opioid dependent because they're trying to treat their teeth in the only way they could. Not much thought was given how to keep people healthy when the community fluoride was taken out of the water.
Is that something that we can, I mean, we voted to take it out. Can we vote to put it back in?
I think if somebody steps forward, but the forces that kind of targeted our community and got local people who riled up about it are formidable. And but I do know one thing about Del Norte is we don't like out of the area people telling us how to live.
No, we don't.
And my hope is that'll piss somebody off out there. Plenty of healthcare providers and dentists spoke against it when it was on the ballot during an year election.
Yeah.
So a real minority of people, I think that was done intentionally.
Oh, like most of those things are put on
Right.
non-presidential years.
And a real minority of not very scientifically oriented people pushed it through, and the rest of us were asleep at the wheel. And there definitely were pediatricians in the area and other healthcare providers really warning against it, but it was just perfectly structured to go under our radar. And I think that's wrong. And I do hope that somebody looks at it and somebody can take the fight up and put fluoride in water again. And I think if we ever get back to seeing science as something super valuable and super important, that we're going to be able to start doing that again. And my hope is it's not going to be long. But right now, children are suffering because of a decision that was encouraged by an out-of-the-area entity. And I find that appalling.
Yeah. So now we have 10-year-olds who have never had any of this. And and if I'm not mistaken, fluoride's naturally occurring, right?
In some well water.
So in some well, but it naturally occurs in some well waters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we're talking about some man-made chemical that dentists are getting rich off of.
And also, the official chemical name of it sounds like long and scary to people who don't do science. And I think that was part of the angle that they presented. We have adenosine triphosphate in our body. That's a long, scary word, but it's what's letting us move here. It's what's letting us think. It's the energetic driver of our entire bodies. But just because it's a long, complicated chemical name doesn't mean that it's automatically bad.
What is the disconnect with people, right? Because I like to garden, and I look at a plant name, and I have speech impediment, so I'm not going to attempt to try to say their Latin names.
Right.
But they have the genuine genus of that plant has a long Latin name, and we're not terrified of roses because of that. We just call them a rose.
Right.
We call it a lily or a daisy or.
This ballot measure was spun.
Okay.
To make it sound scary, and it.
But we do that with all things, botany and horticulture and chemists and all of those things.
Right. I think since COVID especially, science has become suspect.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's too bad because it's actually, science should be valued as some of the greatest works of art. So we go to a symphony and it's so beautiful we cry. Or we're headbanging, with American Idiot and, and really digging in. It speaks to our soul.
Green Day fan, huh?
To me, whatever. Or we look at a picture of a painting, Starry, Starry Night or something like that, and it speaks to our soul. To me, a beautiful scientific paper or somebody speaking and justifying a brand new hypothesis based on really quality science is worth like shedding a tear over because the beauty of it. But not everybody lives in nerdland there. So,
It's amazing when you think of those things. I remember being in church one time and listening to somebody talk about the blessing of being born in this day where we didn't have to die of the flu,
Right.
like her great grandmother's sisters who died of the influenza in 1918, or that the infant mortality rate is so much lower now because of vaccines and because of all of the different medical treatments and things that we have, and that her husband didn't die in his 40s the way his father did, because they could give him medication for his blood pressure and he didn't blow out his kidneys.
Right.
And I think about that too. Like it is a gift. It is a blessing to have those things and to live in these times. And I don't understand why. The whole point of her thing was this: the more that she learns about science, the more she thinks it points to God.
Right.
And I don't understand why people dismiss it as though it's not this phenomenal thing that we have been given to live in these times.
I think they had bad science teachers when they were kids. I was part of the Sputnik generation, and so we were taught to value science from the time I was 5. And I remember doing an art project and thinking, why are we doing this? Oh, this must be what people who can't do science do. And and then allowing them.
I was the Challenger generation, so we got to watch it blow up.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying science is 100% wonderful. There's definitely been some horrific things in the name of science.
Yeah, but even Sally Ride, right? She got all of us kids excited about science, and we
Right.
all gathered around to watch that.
Right.
So,
Right.
and I remember her name to this day.
There's no, like an Arcata has kind of a natural science museum for children. That's not a thing up here, but my children practically lived in it when I raised them in Blue Lake. So we don't have the resources here for people to see the beauty that is science. And we don't raise our children that way. So it's kind of sad.
I think, right, when we talk about disconnect and things too, because I think we all take our kids to the beach to look for agates and to look for the little aquatic sea life in the tide pools, and we go looking for banana slugs out in the redwood forest and the salamanders and the different colored things and the flowers and the botany. So I think we do it, we just don't
But we're not taught.
acknowledge what it is that we're teaching our children, that is science, that watching the sunrise and watching the sunset, getting all excited and going out 3:00 in the morning and watching the northern lights.
Right.
And
That's
science.
the next step, not just the beauty of it, but the next step is, this is so cool. This is why it happens.
Yeah, I heard people out there when I went and did that with my niece and my sibling, explaining about the ions and the different things that happen, and this is why it looks different on your camera. I just don't think people here make the connection that they deny science, and yet they love the science of the things here local that they understand.
Yeah.
So if they understand it, it's okay, and if they don't, then it's scary and bad.
Right. And they also forget that it does really great things for them, like lets them survive childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And watch TV and play football and do all of the other things that they like to do. Internet, music. And music is both science and art. There is a science to
totally.
it.
There's a lot of physicians who are great scientific thinkers who are really good at certain aspects of music, like fiddle playing. They all play the fiddle.
Yeah, right. And Da Vinci did a breakdown of how that all of that art is scientifically based in the math and all of those other things.
Right.
Well, that was a really interesting conversation from fluoride to art, and it's good to know that you are both a Van Gogh and a Green Day fan. I had no idea.
We'll see. I just try and do my thing every day. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Lynn, for this wielding, amazing conversation and helping us understand the importance of getting a plan if we're not going to have fluoride in our water. This has been another episode of Health Matters with PA Lynn Szabo on KFUG Radio. If you'd like to listen to this episode again or any of the episodes of Health Matter, you can always go to KFUG's YouTube channel and select the playlist, and they're all right there. Thanks, Lynn. I'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.